Is that close?
Can you hear that?
Can you? You can't hear cauliflower.
You can now on Cauliflower Corner.
All right, for our final episode of Cauliflower Corner, we also have a special guest. We got a Zuffa employee, one of the best featherweights in the world. Mark Hominick's going to join Cauliflower Corner. I'll slide down.
Slide on down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark, nice to have you.
Classy joint you guys got here.
Yeah, we've put in the renovations.
See that?
Moved over the shirts.
Nice.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a wrestling tournament on the weekend that you're involved in, a submission grappling tournament by Rocky's Harley Davidson, and we have an international tournament going down.
Should be good, you know. It's kind of like, you know, a big asset in MMA, like the grappling side, and people get to come out and, you know, witness it firsthand. Completely sanctioned event, Fila Grappling. It's, you know, Canada's #1 organization for the grappling community, and they're, you know, really pushing it to the international scene. I think we have 6 countries coming. So it's going to be, you know, high-level guys, and people come out and see some of the top grapplers, not just in Ontario, but Canada and the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's great. It's coming to London, and it's great you guys are bringing it.
And that's what Fila Grappling kind of brings to the table, right? Is they have you know, the international connections and whatnot to make take submission grappling out of the kind of local scene and give it a little more international flavor. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the WEC and where you fit in the featherweight category there. Where do you see yourself fitting into a bunch of tough fighters?
Yeah, like right now I got 2 wins in a row there. The WC, it's 3 in a row for me, you know, outside of the show. But, you know, I think I need a couple more to really be a threat for the title, like for people to really start recognizing. But I think my last performance got to show who I am as a fighter, not just, you know, in the WC. They got to see, you know, that I'm one of the best stand-up guys. I can take a punch. I can come back from that. I have that will to fight. And I got to be the semi-main event. So everything was in line to really showcase who I am and who I was as a fighter that night. And just got to keep the ball rolling. But looking at that, I still believe that I've done things that other fighters in the WC haven't done. You know, like most guys drop down from 155 in the UFC because they've lost or they've had a couple losses and think they better contender there, where I went 2-0 there up in the UFC at a higher weight class. So I still have that advantage, but just got to keep the ball rolling, really.
Right on.
With your next fight with Leonard Garcia, a lot of people are saying it's going to be fight of the year because you guys have been such great fights lately. I personally disagree. I think it's going to be a great fight, but I think you're just going to smash him. What do you think's going to happen?
Well, personally, I think that if it's a fight of the night candidate, I'm not fighting the fight I need to fight. You know, he's a wild striker. He likes to be in those wars, and I think if I fight smart, I can make him miss. And you know, I think honestly, have an easier night than a lot of people think, because if I stick to the game plan and stick to my technical ability, I think, you know, I win this fight fairly easily.
Yeah, that's how I saw it.
I remember when Rashad Evans was fighting, Greg Jackson's advice to him was, if the fans are booing, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's not always a smart tactical move to just step into the pocket and trade bombs with somebody, right?
No, exactly.
That's what he's best at, and you can see, like, all his last fights, he's went to decision and won those war type fights, because those are the kind of tough fights he likes. So I think, you know, like I said, going in, sticking to the game plan. I expect a stand up fight, but if I fight smart, he's a tailor-made opponent for me. Like I'm one of those kind of sharpshooter type fighters, stand-up fighters. I'm not one of the guys that like to stand in the pocket and just trade bombs. You know, I like to be technical and, you know, counterpunch. And someone who swings is a perfect candidate for someone to counterpunch against.
I see the same thing. I think it's going to be a knockout of the night, probably. But
Very well said.
Yeah.
Hey, quiet over there, co-host number 2. You're down there for a reason. All right, let's talk about UFC 118 predictions. The big fight, Frankie Edgar, champion, against BJ Penn, gets the immediate rematch. What's your prediction there?
Well, the thing with Penn, he seems like one of those fighters. If he's not motivated for a fight, he doesn't do well, because he doesn't seem like he comes in prepared, or as prepared as he can be. Because he like his nickname, the Prodigy, is for good reason. He's just so gifted. He's a natural fighter. He's natural ability in every aspect of the game. But if he's not up for a fight, we've seen it in the past, he just comes in flat. And I think that's what happened with Frankie Edgar. He was an 8-1 underdog, and BJ came out and kind of treated him like that. He let him dance around and pick his shots, dictate the pace of the fight. So what I see is a hungry BJ Penn coming in, you know, like he has against Diego Sanchez. Or the fights that you remember about BJ Penn being dominant and being the Prodigy is the ones that he's hungry, and he's back. He's got that hunger, and I think that he's going to dominate.
In a way, I think Frankie Edgar stood such a good chance against Penn, not necessarily because of his skill set, but just because he's such a quiet, humble guy.
Yeah.
And then he was an underdog. It's like there wasn't much of a fire being built under BJ.
He flew under the radar for the fight, but he's a type of fighter that he's going to fight tooth and nail for lunch. You know, doesn't matter what it is. He's just a hard-nosed fighter, and that's why he won that last fight. And I see him coming out with the same game plan, using footwork, moving around BJ, and if BJ doesn't, you know, put him in corners and put his weight and put his pressure on him, he's going to lose again. I see a 5-round decision. I don't see him BJ getting finished by any means necessary, but a 5-round decision is the way Frankie could win this fight.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
So you got Penn though for.
I would take Penn just because of the reason that we've seen him in the past. Anytime he's hungry,
I agree.
He's never looked better.
Yeah, exactly. I think the same. How about the other big one? Couture fighting Tony, boxing versus MMA.
Yeah, what a circus match, eh?
Yeah.
Oh my
God.
God.
It is a circus match, but the first 10 to 15 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever it is, when they initially engage, that's where I'm so threatened. You know, as an MMA fighter, because like you know the sport's riding on Randy Couture's shoulder to fight. You know, a boxer, the boxer who's saying, "Boxer the best. We're gonna knock out any fighter because of our hands." And the style that James Toney fights as a stand-up fighter, he's very slick. He finds holes. He makes people miss and counter. You know, so that initial closing the distance in the fight is the most dangerous, and that's when I'm going to be holding my breath.
Huh. Who are you pulling for?
I'm pulling for Randy Couture. Like I said, he's got the weight of MMA on his shoulders, and that's why I want him to win. No more than less. I'm a big James Toney fan, but as an MMA fan, I want Randy to win. And I think as soon as he closes the distance or gets a hold of him, it's over. I mean, there's no denying that. But that first initial contact is so dangerous because of the style of fighter James Toney is.
Absolutely.
I got Couture. I think he's going to take him down.
I'm going to go for Tony, just to be a little different. Also on that card, Kenny Florian, Gray Maynard. Gray Maynard, I know, a good friend of yours, and you've trained with him numerous times.
I think it all depends on what Gray does. You know, when Gray came out and kind of lived up to his name back when he first came out being the bully, like what he did to Frankie Edgar, and he completely bullied him for 15 minutes. That's the fight he wins against Kenny Florian. If he sticks to just boxing like he kind of has in the lately, he's really focused on his boxing. Like since I've been training with him his last couple of years, that's his main concern, and he's getting better as hands, and he has. But Kenny's very smart against game plans, and he knows how to stick and move, and I think it's a dangerous fight for Grady just to box with him. I think he's got to take him down, grind him out, and just be a bully.
It seems to be a lot of wrestlers have trouble making that switch, at the high level, from going from a boxing stance to a wrestling stance, like being able to initiate a takedown from a boxer stance. And the person obviously that stands out in my mind is George St. Pierre, where he's done it to a level that nobody can touch, mixing up his strikes with his takedowns. Why is it you think that somebody like Gray Maynard has trouble pulling the trigger on a takedown from a boxing stance?
You know what? Like it's hard to say there. I think it's just because he's been focused so much on just the boxing, because the footwork's a lot different in boxing and wrestling and the combinations. And when you're working just with, say, a boxing trainer, they're working things that work for boxing.
Yeah.
But as opposed to saying you have an MMA striking coach, right, that understands the whole game. They know how to incorporate that, and I think that's one thing where a guy like St. Pierre is really incorporated, is because not only does he train with the great boxers, he trains with great wrestlers, and he puts it all together every day. So to have the coaches understand how you can put it together.
Very interesting.
So you guys got in that fight? I think Gray's going to be a little over his head. I think Kenny's going to submit him or beat him on the feet. I think Gray's good, but I think Ken's slick.
My heart's saying Gray just because I've been friends with him for, it's going on like 6 years now. But, when I think about the fight and seeing how Kenny's looked in his last couple of fights, I think Gray's got a tough fight ahead of him.
Yeah, Florian has looked so dangerous, like everywhere, on the ground, on his feet. His Muay Thai is excellent. And when he fights guys with good hands, he's got a real knack for playing that perimeter game and throwing hard.
He comes in with game plans, and he very well implements them every single time.
Very intelligent. Okay, I think that about wraps it up. We're going to taking a break for a couple of weeks, and we'll come back with a new set.
Bigger and better than ever.
Yeah. Take care, guys.